Hello and welcome back to the Your Everyday Strength podcast. My name is Josh Sternberg. If you are just tuning in for the first time, that's probably okay because this is only episode 3. However, if you are back and you've listened to episode 1 and 2, firstly, thank you very much for being here. Secondly, let's rip in. Now, today's episode is going to be on the biggest performance killers and some actionable steps on how to fix them. Now, my goal is to make this a little bit of a shorter podcast to ensure that I can get some actionable steps in place for you and get out of here. So you don't need to listen to me yap because most people who are listening to this are probably going to be pretty fucking busy. So without further ado, here we go. First things first. Overtraining versus under-recovering. This is probably one of the biggest performance killers I see. Now, this is probably the hidden mistake that is killing your progress long-term, because what I would see more often than not is people who overcommit to training. They turn around and they say, I'm going to do 5 or 6 days a week, and I'm going to do cardio on top, and I'm going to get 12 to 15,000 steps a day, and I'm going to this, and I'm going to that, and I'm going to hit my food every day, and blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden they're 3 weeks in, they've done 2 sessions a week on average, their fucking food's out the window, they have no ability to recover from anything that they're actually fucking doing. And it's all turned to shit. They've lost every aspect of drive or motivation that they want to do it. And then they pack it in and call it a day. And they revert back to being at step 1 where they were when they first started the process. So this is where, understanding the overarching principles of training comes into play. Because if we're overtraining but under recovering, it means that we are going to need to put some actionable steps in place. Funny that. Now, what I mean by overtraining right now, if you are let's say you are a mother or a father, you could be either a single mother or a single father, or you might just be a parent in general with a loving wife or husband at home. Now, if you, for instance, turn around and say that on top of all of your duties with relation to your children, husband or wife or job or whatever the case might be, I want to train 5-6 days a week, I want to do this, I want to do that, but you're never actually able to achieve that because your life is too fucking hectic and your sleep is shit, your nutrition is abysmal at best, your stress is through the roof. It's like, okay, maybe we need to take a little bit of a step back here. Because overtraining doesn't just mean you're training too much. It also means that you're just under-recovering from the training that you are doing. Now, if we are under-recovering from the training that we are doing, then we're never going to be able to progress anything long-term anyway. So what you want to be doing is ensuring that you are taking in consideration all these other aspects. Now, when we talk about training, nutrition, sleep, work, relationships, all of this sort of stuff, stresses, external stresses, all of that, everyone thinks, oh, well, this goes into this basket and this goes into this basket and this goes into this basket. It's like, well, no, everything goes into the same fucking basket, no matter what it is, whether it's training, nutrition, kids are sick, jobs giving you stress, like your work is giving you stress, etc. It's all going in the same fucking basket. And if you were doing nothing to actually take into consideration this aspect of things, then you're actually never going to get anywhere within your training. You could have the world's best training program. Every single aspect could be thought out. But if you are not actually taking into consideration anything external to the training, then you're never going to be able to progress. And on the flip side of that, you could have the world's worst training program. But if you are ticking all the boxes in every other aspect of your life, then you actually might get some pretty good progression from it. Now, bad programming and improper progression are the secondary thing that I see holding most people back. The reason I say this is because, technically there's no such thing as a bad program, blah, blah, blah. But if I was to roll in and see 5 sets of 20 on a hip thrust, I'd probably think that's a pretty fucking bad program because it hasn't taken into consideration basically any foundational principle of training in any capacity, but that's fine. I'm sure there's people out there who want to do that sort of stuff. And improper progression, i.e. you roll in every single week and you are not progressing. You're not pushing the weight up. You're not increasing volume. You're not doing anything that's actually going to garner progression long term. You're just fucking spinning your wheels and doing the same shit time and time again. Bad programming is going to lead to extra stress. If you roll in and you have had a pretty fucking shitty day at work and you're tired and you are a little bit angry or annoyed and you roll in and you see a fuck ton of volume on your program, you're probably not going to want to put as much effort into that as possible, or you might just not turn up at all. You might just go home or fucking stop in at KFC on the way home, get a little snack in, and all of a sudden you're like, well, what's the fucking point? I'm not going to train this week at all, right? This is where we need to take all aspects of life into consideration. We need to understand that everything has a cascade effect on each other. Now, we can look at this as what you do in the morning dictates how you end the day. What you do at the end of the day dictates how you start your morning. If you are somebody who spends all night watching Netflix or sitting on their phone right up until they go to bed, now you go to sleep at the last possible minute, but you toss and turn for an hour before going to sleep. You're fucking a little bit more wired and stimulated than you probably should be. You wake up feeling tired and groggy. You load yourself full of caffeine. Now, all of a sudden, if you are a parent, you have to get up. You have to make lunches, breakfasts, make sure the kids are showered, ready to go to childcare or school, whatever the case might be. You then have to get yourself to work. All of a sudden, on your way to work, you are pissed off and annoyed, and traffic is a pain in the ass, and then someone cuts you off and now you're in a foul mood. You rock up to work and you're slightly late and you're already pissed off. Your boss is like, well, where were you? Why aren't you at work on time? You fucking lose it at him. You're having a shit day there. Then all of a sudden tasks start to build up over the course of the day and you just fucking crack the shits and you're not giving as much effort as you can. Then at lunchtime, you're like, fuck it, I'm not even going to bother eating. Too much work to do, blah, blah, blah. Get to the end of the day, you're like, fuck, now I got to go home and I got to do all this shit and then I got to go and train. It's like, you reckon you're going to be putting as much effort into your training as you should be at the back end of that day? Or on the flip side, you're someone who understands that you need time to yourself. You understand that it takes time to get better at things. So you turn your phone off an hour before bed. You might still have to put the kids to bed or read them a story or make sure they've got dinner or whatever, but then you take some time to yourself after that. You allow yourself to read, meditate, journal, or whatever the case might be. Sit there and talk to your partner, or if you're single, just allow yourself to find some downtime and continue on. Now, finding some downtime to yourself, right? Now, great. All of a sudden, you get a really great restful night's sleep, 7 to 9 hours, perfect. You wake up in the morning, you're feeling good. Everything's just a little bit easier. If you're someone who's able to find a little bit of time first thing in the morning, 15, 20 minutes to yourself, again, similar thing, you can read, journal, meditate, go for a walk around the block with your dog, or just get up and go for a quick stroll before the kids wake up, or whatever the case might be. You're able to just start the day with a little bit of time to yourself. Now, all of a sudden, you're in a calmer mindset. Now, you still might have all the same tasks that you previously had. You still might have to either get the kids ready or help husband make his lunch for work or whatever the case might be, or you yourself might have to get all your lunch and everything prepared for the day. But then you're driving to work and you're less stressed. Now, all of a sudden, the traffic doesn't worry you as much. The person cutting you off, you kind of just laugh instead of getting angry. Now you get to work, you're a little bit late, you just turn around to your boss, you go, look, mate, I'm really sorry. XYZ has occurred. I'll do better next time. My apologies. Great. Boss is happy. You're happy. You rip into your work. You're excited to be there because you've got energy. You got your lunch prepared. You're ready to go. Lunchtime comes around. You eat your meal. You're feeling good about yourself. You finish the day. You're driving home. Do all the stuff for the kids, or you go straight to the gym, whatever the case might be. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh, I feel fucking great. I'm ready to attack this session. I'm ready to get this done. I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to do that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, well, this has all had a cascade effect from what you did last night, what you've done this morning. Now, tomorrow is going to have a cascade effect based upon what you've done today. It all cascades over time. It is consistency over the long term. It is consistency over the average. If we're taking into consideration things like mental fatigue, burnout, and over-reliance on motivation, then these are all things that can absolutely occur. If we were to look at example A from that one before, if you've just started the day as a fucking catastrophe and it is catastrophized over the course of the day continually over and over and over again, then you're probably going to be fairly mentally fatigued and feel burnt out. You're going to feel tired. You're going to feel sluggish. You're probably going to feel pretty fucking shit. And that is all stemmed from stress mitigation. Now, if we are able to control stress, we are generally able to control a majority of our life. If you've had a stressful day at work and you're in a deficit and you come home and you're a little bit hungry you are probably more likely to turn around and either pick up fucking McDonald's or something on the way, or sit down and smack a bag of chips or a fucking block of chocolate, than if you were to say, having a great day. You had mitigated stress as much as possible. You come home, you're still in a deficit. You are still slightly hungry, but you go, nope, my goals are more important than my emotions right now. Stick to your diet. Then you feel accomplished. Then you tick it off another box for the day, and you continue on your journey for the next days, weeks, months, years, however long it takes you to achieve your goals that you have set. Now you don't necessarily feel as burnt out because you are taking into consideration all of these other aspects of training and nutrition. Mental fatigue isn't as high because you feel like you have a little bit more mental clarity. You feel like you have a little bit more mental control over your situation. The big thing that I see, and a big one, and this is a topic that is discussed so many fucking times in so many different manners, and that is the over-reliance on motivation. Now, motivation is fleeting. We all know that. It can come and go. And people are like, you don't need motivation, you need discipline. And my take on the situation is, yes, you do need discipline. There is levels to this shit. You need to start to build habits. As we build and establish habits, we then become disciplined to do those things, even if we don't necessarily want to do them, because they are now a habit. So now all of a sudden we've gone from habits, we've gone to discipline. Because we've remained disciplined and we're able to do hard shit even if we don't necessarily want to, now we've built confidence. Confidence then leads to motivation to either do that thing or try new things. It is all just a cascade effect that is stemmed from building habits. Yes, motivation is fleeting, but I can tell you right now, I know myself, after training for 10 years within a gym and predominantly for most of my life, that motivation's fucking great. When you feel motivated to do something and you're floating on that high-flying disc, you're in the clouds, you are on, things go well. And then all of a sudden, because one thing's going well, other things are going well. This is going well, life's going well, relationships are going well, work's going well, training's going well. It all has a flow-on effect. In the opposite direction, as we already discussed, one thing goes shit. Oh, the next thing shit. Oh, this is shit. Oh, this is shit. And then now you're in this rut of just shit. Now you have no motivation, which how can you be motivated when everything in your life is falling apart and terrible, right? But what you can do is you can start to pull yourself out of that rut by going, okay, well, I'm not motivated right now, but this is where I want to be. I want to be training 5 days a week. I want to be nailing my nutrition. I want to be getting 12,000 steps a day. Cool. Great. That's an end goal. But to get there, we have to start a little bit smaller. We need to start with building some actionable habits that will come into play. Now, we'll get to these in a moment because the first thing I want to discuss before that is it's something that is incredibly common. And I'm sure we've all seen it. I'm sure we've all been to the gym for a few years now if you're listening to this podcast. But it is why most gym goers never get strong or grow or progress or do anything. And this all ties into each other as well. Because they are essentially training, or they're not training, they are working out. Now, there is a huge difference between working out and training with intent. Training with intent means that you are working towards a goal with intensity behind your training and intent behind your efforts, intent behind your movements to ensure that you are actually getting towards that goal. We've all seen it. I've worked in gyms now for the better part of 7.5 to 8 years. I have been involved in the gym for about 11 years. And I can guarantee you right now that there are still people I see at gyms that I have trained at in the past who look the same. They're not any stronger. They're not any bigger. They're not any leaner. They have not changed in any capacity. Now, these people, for the most part, are fairly happy to do that. But if you are listening to this podcast, then you are probably not one of those people. The reason those people end up the way they do is because they don't change anything. They don't push themselves to train harder. They don't adjust their food. They don't adjust any aspect of their life. They're pretty content with just spinning their wheels for years on end. Or if they're not and they just don't change anything, well, I'm pretty sure it was Einstein who said the definition of insanity is to repeat the same thing time and time again, expecting a different outcome. I'll leave that one with you, but it might not even be an eye sign. It just means that you want to be training with intent. Now, I think there is a difference between training with intent and training with intensity. You might go in and train with intensity, and you might be RPE 10, balls to the wall on fucking everything you're doing. 5 sets of this and 5 sets of that and fucking this and that and that and that. And then all of a sudden we're going back to point one, which is overtraining, and you're not able to recover from that training. But that's, training with intensity. People think, oh, I train really fucking hard, so why am I not progressing? It's like, well, you can't fucking recover from that. You're putting your body at a disadvantage. You're increasing fatigue without actually increasing stimulus. And then all of a sudden, you're not any further along than where you were. You might train hard, but you don't train smart. We want to combine the two, which is why we want to train with intent. Intent to understand about training, intent to understand about recoverability methods, intent to understand about nutrition, sleep, stress mitigation. Not just, oh, well, I'm going to go and flog myself in the gym, and then I'm going to go and fucking sit in an ice bath, and then I'm going to go do the boots, and I'm going to go get a Theragun, and I'm going to go do this and that and this and that. And it's like, well, cool. What's your sleep like? What's your nutrition like? How are all these other things affecting you day to day? These are the things we need to address and look at before we do any of that. Now, training with intent means that you are going in, you are following a program. You understand your goal is X. And to get there, you need to be able to push yourself as hard as you can. The reason we utilize things like RP or RIR within a gym is rate of perceived exertion or reps in reserve. These are methods of training intensity, of tracking training intensity over the long term. You might find one person who goes in on 3 separate sessions, and RPE 8 feels slightly different every session. This is because it is based upon how you are feeling on that particular day. It is a fairly subjective unit of measurement. Similarly, RIR, honestly, I probably could use them interchangeably for the most part, for the most average gym goers. People might have different opinions. That is fine. Feel free to let me know if you do. I'm happy to have a discussion around it with you. But when we go in, we want to be training with intent. We want to have a reason to be there. We want to have a reason for which we're going so that we're actually going to be able to push. Now, if you can combine intent and intensity together, that is effort. Long term, you're going to progress toward your goals, because now all of a sudden you are meeting intent, which is what you're working towards, with intensity, which is how hard you're training or pushing yourself or recovering or hitting your macros, your fucking micros, you're getting your sleep, you're getting all of this stuff. You combine the two together and they work harmoniously together. And it is a beautiful, beautiful world we live in, and we love that, right? We love it. But if you just train with intent and lack intensity, you go in, you have a goal, like, this is what I'm working towards, this is how I'm going to do it, this is X, this is Y, and then you get off a machine and you look like you could go and have a casual conversation with somebody in general, or you can talk whilst on the machine. All of a sudden, intensity is not there. We're lacking intensity, which means we're lacking an ability to actually progress towards our goals. This is why we need the two to be together. Now, bringing it back to motivation, as I said, motivation is established as a byproduct of establishing habits, which creates and builds discipline, which then stems to confidence, which then stems to motivation. Now, this doesn't even have to be related to the gym at all. It doesn't even need to have anything to do with the gym whatsoever. But I have seen it happen firsthand for myself. I have seen it happen firsthand with others. You go and talk to any person who has been in a gym for an extended period of time, and I can promise you right now that they are going to tell you the same thing. Because they have done hard shit in the gym for a long time, they are now able to do hard shit in other areas of their life. They're now able to go to their boss and ask for that raise, or have that difficult conversation with one of their employees. They are now able to go up to the girl at the bar or the guy at the bar and talk to them. And they are able to put themselves in bigger and better situations that allow themselves to grow long term as people, as individuals, as professionals, as whatever the case might be. They are now able to do these things. And it is all stemmed from something that has nothing to do with any of that aspect of stuff. But it is all stemmed from building and establishing habits, discipline, confidence, motivation. If we can build those things, then all of a sudden we're motivated to go and do other things. We're like, fuck, I've proven to myself that I can do hard shit. Why don't I go and find other hard shit to do? Why don't I start that business? Why don't I talk to that girl? Why don't I have that conversation with my boss or my employee or whatever the case might be? And you look at it and you're like, well, actually, that has nothing to do with the gym in any capacity. You might be a foreman on a construction site. But because you've built an established confidence within yourself down here, you're now able to go and do all the things up here. These are the things that we want to be doing, right? It's establishing this stuff over the long term. Because the biggest mindset shift that needs to be changed for long-term success is understanding that is all just about a consistency over the long term. It is all just a percentage of averages. Everything we do stacks up. Everything we do stacks up time and time and time again. And all of a sudden we have a massive cascade effect in our favor. Now, we can very easily end up on the flip side of that and have a cascade effect not in our favor. And we can end up hating life, and we can end up depressed or sad or down or whatever the case might be. And I'm not saying that because we do this shit that none of that is going to occur, because I am proof that it can occur. It can absolutely occur. Sometimes we can't control some of the external things that go on in our lives. Sometimes we do need to find better and more constructive ways to actually be able to deal with these things so that we are able to help ourselves that actually relate nothing to do with the gym. This is why I try and encompass everything as a more of a holistic approach. This is why I'm so big on discussing journaling and meditating and finding stress mitigation strategies that work for the person, finding ways that the person can spend time with themselves for even if it's just a 15-20 minute window at the start or the end of the day, so that they're able to bring down stress. They're able to bring down their cortisol levels. They're able to sit with themselves and understand themselves a little bit better so that they are able to continue to do these things. Now, it's going to take time. I'm not saying this shit is easy. It's not fucking fast. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes all of these things. You have to do it with intent, and you have to do it with intensity. Now, the rate and the timeline with which everyone is on is so different. Now, people could be, myself personally, I have so much more time than the average person. I work from home. I'm single. I'm 28 years old. I just have a dog. All I really have to do in a day is walk him and do my work for my clients. And that's pretty much about it. I'm able to then go and train and focus on my food and focus on my sleep and focus on my stress mitigation. And I'm able to do all this stuff. But if I was a mother or a father, or I had a full-time job where I had to be at a desk for fucking 8 hours a day, that would then change. Now, I am very guilty of when I was a PT at the start, being like, oh, we all have the same hours in a day. We all have the same 24 hours, blah, blah, fucking blah. And that is just utter bullshit. We do not have the same 24 hours. What we do have is a level of effort that we can apply to our days. So we might not have the same 24 hours. You might not have an hour and a half, 4 to 5 times a week to train. What you might have is 45 minutes, 3 times a week to train. But if you don't fill that space with that training, then the effort is not being applied. Likewise, if I have the time to do something and I don't do it, then the effort is not being applied and I'm not going to achieve the things I want to achieve. So you might look at someone and be like, oh, why are they achieving these things so much quicker than I am? And the truth could be that they might just have either more time, more effort to be able to apply, or they're just applying themselves better. The more we can actually look at it from that perspective and take away, oh, well, this person doesn't have this and this person doesn't have these responsibilities and this person doesn't have that responsibility. And it's like, that is true. Absolutely. That is not an excuse. That is truth in exactly what is happening in your situation and your scenario. However, I can promise you right now that there is not a single person that I've ever met or spoken to that doesn't have an ability to be more concise in their week, that doesn't have an ability to be more deliberate in their week with their effort and intensity and their intent. I apologize. Effort and intent. Now, this might mean you get up 15 minutes earlier of a day to allow yourself that 15 minutes. But if that 15 minutes of getting up earlier is going to reduce stress and going to set yourself up perfectly for the day where you feel better every single day and all of a sudden has a positive flow-on effect for the morning and at work and after work at the gym, then that 15 minutes is worth it. It is more than worth it. But if you just rush every day and you're up late and you fucking bang, 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 it's all of a sudden everything's shit. Nothing's working towards what you want to be doing. And then all of a sudden training turns to shit, your nutrition turns to shit. You're not any further or closer towards your goals than you were previously. And all of a sudden you've packed it in, you've had enough and you're done. Now, this is where we need to understand that shifting our mindset is different for everybody, but it can be done. So, some simple actionable steps that I think are going to be incredibly important, some actionable strategies for performance optimization, is start with your habits. Actually, backtrack. Start with your goals. Start with some intent. Start with what you want to be doing or where you want to be or what you want to achieve. Write that down. I want to lose X amount of weight. I want to be X body weight. I want to lift X amount of weight. I want to do this. Whatever the case might be, it doesn't matter. Your goal is specific to you. Set a goal. Now sit down and structure out, how can I build habits that long-term are going to lead to a positive outcome towards that goal? Cool. Long-term, your goal might be to compete in a powerlifting competition and you want to lift X weight. Perfect. Well, if you've been barely training or you can't fucking do any of it at the moment, well, you're probably pretty far away from your goal. It might seem pretty far-fetched. You're not going to stick with it. But if you sit down and go, okay, well, my goal is to compete. I want to lift X amount of weight. Great. I'm going to start by training 3 times per week. I'm going to go to the gym 3 times per week. I'm going to track my protein intake every single day. I'm going to hit 3 liters of water a day. 3. Perfect. 3 steps right there that we can build habits on. Now, you might do this for 2 weeks. You might do this for 3 weeks. It might take 4 weeks. It doesn't matter. The timeline is dependent upon you. So now all of a sudden you've started to build and establish the habit of going to the gym 3 times a week. Perfect. You've started to track your protein intake every single day. Perfect. You've started to nail your 3 liters of water a day. Perfect. Now from there, you're like, actually, I can find extra time on a 4th day that I'd love to be able to go to the gym. So I'm going to go to the gym on 4 days. Now I'm not just going to track my protein. I'm going to track my carbs and my fats as well. Awesome. Now all of a sudden we're building on these habits. Still drinking 3 liters of water a day, but what I'm going to probably do is I'm going to ensure that I am able to take 15 minutes to myself at the start of a day or at the end of a day and just breathe, or just take some time to reset or journal or meditate or whatever the case might be. Cool. So now we've gone from 3 habits to 4 habits. This habit has increased. This habit has increased. This is still being consistent as all hell. Now all of a sudden you've started this 4th habit and you were ticking that off every single day. Well, now we're really starting to build and establish some really great foundational habits. Building of these habits has come into play, and now all of a sudden you might wake up a little bit tired one day, or something has happened external that you can't control, and you're like, I don't really know if I want to do this, blah, blah, blah. But because you've already built and established the habits, now the discipline has come into play. The discipline has come into play, so you're like, nope, I'm going to the gym to stick to these 4 days a week. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Perfect. Discipline is there. All of a sudden, you've been doing that for an extended period of time now, and you are confident in your ability to continue to do things and push when shit gets hard. Fucking awesome. Now you are motivated to do it. Now you want to go and do it. Now you are excited to go and do it. And I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that just because you've built and established habits and discipline and confidence that you're going to be motivated to do shit every day, because I can promise you right now that I am not myself. And I know of no one that is motivated every single fucking day. But because they have built habits, they've established discipline, they've built their confidence, motivation comes more frequently. Motivation to do the same thing time and time again with a better intent and effort is fucking progressing. Now, from there, you have been able to go from somebody who could barely train, who wasn't tracking, who fucking had no real hold on any aspect of that life, to someone who has managed to compete, who's done really fucking well for themselves. Now you've got all these built and established habits and foundations and everything like that. Now we have a really solid foundation with which we can build upon long term. One of my favorite analogies is utilizing the analogy of a building foundation for the long term with both training and nutrition. Now, there's not a single building in this world that is going to hang around for a long time if it is built on a shitty foundation. If your foundation is built on barely training, not eating appropriately, not drinking enough water, stress is out the window, you barely fucking sleep, well, it's probably going to be pretty rocky and you're probably going to see it collapse fairly quickly. However, if you are someone who has built your foundation on consistently repeating habits and effort every single time you wake up, then all of a sudden this foundation is solid. It is strong. You can build on higher, bigger, better, grander. Everything that you want is going to have a positive flow-on effect, because now all of a sudden you've had all of these build habits here, all of the discipline established here, Okay, well, now you've carried it over into every other aspect of your life. And I've already mentioned it again, because I'm going to keep reiterating the same point, is that what we do with training can have a positive flow-on effect into other aspects of your life. What you do in other aspects of your life can have a positive flow-on effect into training. They are not individual. They can be used together. One might help the other might help it at certain points as well. It doesn't need to be differentiated between. When we start to build and establish these habits, when we start to build and develop this discipline, and we're building this confidence, then motivation comes as a byproduct. Bang, that is it. As I said, I wanted to make this episode short, sharp, to the point, providing some actionable steps that are actually going to help you with optimizing your performance long term, that you can start today. Too long, don't read. Sit down, write out your goals. Map out some habits that are going to help you achieve those goals. Continue to do that shit even when it gets hard. Build and establish the discipline and confidence long term. Motivation will come as a byproduct. You're going to feel great some days. You're not going to feel great other days. That is fine. All that matters is you consistently show up for yourself to be better than you were yesterday. Wonderful. As I said, if this is your first time listening, thank you very much for being here. Do not forget to you can leave a comment, nice comments only, positive feedback only. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to shoot them through. You can find me on Instagram at Josh Sternberg, or leave a comment down below. Honestly, thank you very much for being here. Tune in next week for the next episode. We have an amazing guest coming on. I'm very excited for you all to hear it. Beyond that, I hope you have yourself a fantastic day and an even better week.